my question for you is, as you know, Singapore is currently a leader in certain industries such as banking and finance. However, in your opinion, what would be the key industries that Singapore could be leaders in 2030? Thank you.
That's obviously a crucial question. And for we've been lucky as well as we had good planning in the last 4 decades. And as the speaker rightly pointed out, the group said, very few countries have grown as fast as we have. This year we are supposed to grow 13 to 15%. And when I share that with people abroad, they're just stunned. This is after a global financial crisis. Last year we grew minus 2%. But if you look across the decade, we probably will grow maybe about 4 to 5% compounded. So that for our per capita is on a fairly high side. Europe grows less. US and UK are more vibrant economies. But in the 60s and 70s, we were fortunate to have, before globalization, decided that we wanted to have MNC, export-led shape of economy. And this was before everyone else caught on and MNCs came here and we grew very fast. So part of our ability is to, as Muhammad said, how do you spot the next best winner? It's becoming increasingly harder because economies around us, economists will tell you it's the factors of production, right? Land, cost of utilities, manpower. And these are the 3 factors that you have to play with. And we want to, and it may be more difficult to decide on a specific sector that we want to, because as I mentioned in my speech, disruptive technologies will occur more readily. And basically we've diversified our economy so that we are not that dependent on any one particular sector. If you look at banking and finance, even in terms of proportion of GDP, if you look at tourism, if you look at aerospace, if you look at manufacturing, what has changed is that manufacturing as a percentage of GDP has come down. It's now about, I think, 20% of our GDP. Services account for 60%. Manufacturing still has many jobs, but we've diversified. And that's the shape of your polytechnic education. Notice that your polytechnic education has also expanded to many fields. We said biomedical was one area, and biomedical engineering. We are placing some big bets on clean technology. Not necessarily nuclear as the group. I think they went slightly futuristic, because even for advanced countries where the nuclear option is, say for France, for example, I think nuclear energy still supplies only 40% of their needs. In Japan, similarly. We are looking at clean technology, which is whether solar or more efficient use. And for us, honestly, as a small country, we've diversified our energy sources. That's why we are building an LNG terminal. But clean technology is one growth area that I think there's a clean tech park now next to NTU. We are also putting our R&D money in that. So my answer to you is that it's more diversified. What I think, if I were in your shoes, what I would do is not so much spot the industry, but select an industry and then ask where is the value add. How you, as when you graduate, can join a company, lead the company, or with a group of people, find innovative platforms, whether it's ICT, whether it's supply chain logistics, whether it's warehousing, whether it's services even. That's the value premium that you're going to get. Because if you look at, for example, the iPhone, right? If I ask you, why is it doing so well? Was it technology? Yes, of course it was. But it was the interface. It's the ability to connect the various aspects of both technology and human behavior, understanding human behavior. You know, we love to flip the page with our finger, and it allowed us to do that, or just expand things by doing this movement, which you couldn't do without touch screens. But it's marrying that technology with human behavior, understanding human behavior. And I think that's where the value add will be. So increasingly, that's why your principals send you abroad to look at companies, to have a fresh way of looking at things. Because if you look at some of the old industries, for example, Old Chunky, for example. I mean, you remember when we were buying Rex Curry, you won't remember. I mean, older people will remember. Rex Curry Puffs, was a curry puff. People were lined up for a long time. Or Tiong Bahru, the Sui Chin Pao. But their children took it over. In my constituency, when I was in medical school, there was a popiah store that I ate 30 over years ago. And then he moved out from, they call it the 150 canteen next to the blood center in the old SGH. This is way before your time. But I found him in my Toa Payoh constituency, and his son had rejuvenated it, put it online, and he was catering popiah parties. So you need to take old concepts, add a spin to what your generation Y will want, and I think you can create the next big winner. So we will enable you the technology, but I need to be honest, that extra X factor, you either have to dig very deep to get it. Some of you have it, some of you don't. I mean, some of us are just very creative, some are not. But your ability will be who you can network with, who you decide to band with, where you look for the opportunities, how hard you're willing to work, to take calculated risk. And I think that if you can do that, there's a more than an even chance that among you that we'll have the next big winner, the next successful business, and the next major entrepreneur.